again, I'm Alex Miceli, and this is my one take. And you know, that car crash you just saw, or actually truck crash, that seemed to be a lot like what happened at the Sony Open on Sunday in the 18th hole. I mean, the 18th hole is one of those places where you see a lot of birdies, maybe some eagles. Everything can change for the better. But this week on Sunday, if you watched it, it was a slow cruise to oblivion. I mean, 15 minutes here between shots, 15 minutes there between shots. Balls careening off of tents going nowhere to be found. It was so bizarre. I mean, absolutely bizarre, and probably cost Brendan Steele his chance to win again on the PGA Tour. I mean, obviously, congratulations to Cam Smith who won in a playoff, but I mean, come on, what's going on there? Do they need to take a look at that? Maybe change it up, fix something. I don't know what it is, but the bottom line is that the 18th hole on Sunday was a car crash, just like what you just saw, but one where everybody walked away safely. I just sometimes wonder, you know, I like playoffs and so forth and so on, but I want there to be a reason we had a playoff. And in that particular case, there was no reason except for craziness. And craziness never makes sense to me, at least not on a golf course. So let's take a look at this for a second. Cam Smith won. Louis Oosthuizen barely lost in Africa, South Africa, when Brandon Gray shot like a 9-under to catch him and pass him. But Louis was leading through 3 rounds. Adam Scott won in Australia. What do all those 3 guys have in common? Louis Oosthuizen, Cam Smith, Adam Scott. They're all on the International President's Cup team. Just think, if you're Ernie Els right now, you're looking at this saying, we were so close. If these guys would have done that, I mean, if Louis and Adam would have won their singles matches, whoa, completely different story. Does that mean that maybe the internationals are a little closer? Do we have to wait 2 more years before we can find out? Well, we do, unfortunately. But if you're Ernie Els, who I believe is going to be the next President's Cup captain, he's got to see positives out of this. He's got to see the fact that his guys did show up and are showing up. They just need to show up in 2 years in Charlotte, North Carolina. You know, there's this discussion about speed of play and how we need to be faster and so forth and so on. Well, how do you deal with what happened at the Sony? I mean, that was clearly a speed of play issue that clearly affected the outcome of the event. So where's your lists and clocks and this and that and everything else to make the fix? Where's the fix? Where's the fix for that? I mean, why didn't Ryan Palmer hit a provisional out of that bunker? I mean, the ball went, who knows where it is. Why didn't he hit a provisional? Would that have sped play up? Absolutely. Instead of having to drive his rear end all the way back down, didn't make any sense. Why didn't he hit a provisional? In turn, it just slowed play up. Kevin Kisner was in the mix for a while, and he was one of those guys in the last 3 groups. Didn't get it done. But because of his results, moved from the top 10 on the Ryder Cup's point list to the top 8. Now you're asking me, why am I saying all this? Well, you know what? I think this is going to matter a lot. This is going to be a kind of an odd Ryder Cup because it's not a venue that favors the Americans. In fact, if you talk to most people, they could argue that it favors the Europeans. So it's going to be interesting to see who gets on this team. And Steve Stricker, forget the 8 guys that are going to get on the team. The 4 picks are going to be tremendous for him. It's going to really make the difference, I believe. But it's always interesting to see how this kind of evolves. And Kisner now goes from 10 to 8. And most people would say, if you think about it, Kisner is one of those guys you want on a team like this. You want a guy with a lot of raw emotion. You want a guy that's going to be pumping everybody up. You want a guy that's got attitude. That's Kevin Kisner. Oh, and by the way, got a pretty good game too. Abu Dhabi this week. It's interesting because you're starting to see a lot of Americans going over and playing in the Middle East. It's a big event for the European Tour, obviously. It's the beginning of their desert swing. Of course, we have our own desert swing in the United States. It starts in Palm Springs at the American Express, but it's not anything close to what they have in Abu Dhabi and then Dubai, and then, of course, we're going to Saudi Arabia. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Lastly, just kind of an odd thing that I saw. Trinity Forest, which got a lot of big pub, Crenshaw Core, going out in the middle of nowhere and outside of Dallas and building this golf course. The tourists decided the last year for the Byron Nelson, or AT&T Byron Nelson, at Trinity Forest is this year. So the question is, where they're going, and B, how could you have screwed this up so royally? I mean, it's only had 3 events there. So the question is, and they say the reason they're not going back is because of an infrastructure issue that would be so financially difficult to put together they can't fix. I've never heard of a golf course that can't be fixed. But this golf course, they say, basically can't be fixed, at least not reasonably for how much money it would cost. How is that possible, by the way? Who decided that? I mean, that's something like the CEO of Boeing making these crazy assertions at some point and getting fired. Doesn't somebody need to lose their job over this? I do. I think so. Somebody needs to. And then the question is that where are they going to? We're not going to go back, I hope, to where we did before, but where do you go in Dallas? It's pretty hard. It's not easy to find a venue. Why couldn't they figure this out? That's just me rambling, ranting, whatever. Just seems a little odd to me. One last thing. And this is kind of difficult, but I've made this decision. Over Twitter this week, there's been a lot of Charlie Woods. Not a very good shot of Charlie Woods. Obviously, the person that took it was far away when they took this video of Charlie Woods. But the reason I bring it up and the reason I'm playing this I mean, Tiger was like 4 or 5 years old when he was on the Mike Douglas show. So it's not like a young Woods hasn't been on television before or people haven't seen him and so forth and so on. But the bottom line is the reason I'm putting this out there, I don't care if it's Charlie Woods or anybody, I don't care who it is. That swing at that age, are you kidding me? I mean, seriously, that is an unbelievable swing. Now, I will tell you, as we're seeing this, that I did send a note to Mark Steinberg asking if Tiger or the Woods camp had any issues with this video being out there, had any issues of him getting this exposure. I hadn't heard back by the time we did my one take. But I did reach out to Mark Steinberg about this, Tiger's agent. But I don't think I've seen people say, oh, we shouldn't be doing this, you couldn't be seeing this, it's not fair, the kids. No. If you're seeing this and you're commenting about it, you should be seeing it because you're saying how good this is. Look at the possibilities this kid has. And it doesn't matter if it's Tiger's son or not. Just look at that swing. Those possibilities are what we're talking about. That's why I think if it was anybody else, nobody would care. You know, if it's some random 5-year-old sitting there on some range hitting some balls and they hit a swing like this, everybody would be like, oh, that's a great swing, but they wouldn't care that it's this random kid. But because it's Charlie Woods, they're having a big issue. And my issue is that we should be applauding, that somehow Charlie Woods got all the DNA from his father, B, that his father was out there caddying for him in this event, okay? And C, we should be applauding Charlie Woods and his father's relationship. That's what we should be applauding. And the fact that he's got a great swing is even beyond that. Okay, too much ranting, too much talking. I'm done for the day. I'm Alex Miceli. That's my one take. We'll see you next week.